Give everyone permission here to record. We are set and ready to go. We're going to take as many questions as we can in the time that we have with William. As I stated before, if you have a question, we are good with a follow-up question. We just ask that you keep those as tight as you can. And to kick us off, we're going to start with Claire B. Lane. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. As you think about heading to Richmond, William, what are your primary thoughts after the chaos that we saw and all of the playoff drivers? Some performed okay, but we had some really rough moments amongst the playoff drivers. So what do you think about Richmond?
I think it's going to be just a normal Richmond race. I feel like Richmond's a place that you can get pretty strung out, and, car performance and driver performance is really critical. So, I think for us, it's just focus on, getting the best finish we can and hopefully, having a lot of speed. And I feel like based on our spring race at Richmond, we should have a lot of speed. So, I feel good about it. Richmond's not been a good place in the past for us, but this year it has been. So I feel like we can take that momentum and performance and apply it to this weekend and hopefully get ourselves above that playoff bubble.
We're hearing a lot of reports on the next gen car. I talked to a lot of drivers who are saying that the next gen car is going to be very different to drive and to work on. But let me ask you, if you follow that, think about that a lot, or if you've got to compartmentalize that and not think about that a little farther down the road, even with the test.
So, yeah, I definitely thought about it over the last 2 days because I was down there testing and experiencing the car. And I feel like, I learned a lot of things. I still keep a pretty open mind just because we're 6 months out from racing. And I feel like a lot changes as soon as the teams get a little bit more time with the car and get a chance to really kind of work on it and understand the things that make it tick. But all I can do is just give them the best feedback possible. And felt like I did that over 2 days. Felt like we made some good progress in terms of philosophy and ideas on the car. Did some drafting runs with the pack, which was good, and those went really well. So for me, it's just all about continuing to learn. But I kind of put that in its own box now and focus on this year because that's ultimately what really matters right now. So for me right now, just focus on the playoffs. And after the last 2 days, just kind of put that into next year's.
I know you had been down there. I just wondered if you could kind of put it out of your mind now as you jump back into the playoffs. Thanks a lot for the answer. Really appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Our next question will come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, William, I know it's different tracks, but just how different was the car that you drove this week compared to the car that you tested like a year ago?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like very different in terms of the details. The rear view camera, that's a big difference that I think we all underestimated the ability of that. The interior design of the car was a lot more similar to the current car than I thought it would be. We spent a lot of time at the shop trying to get that right, make sure my seat position was good. I sit slightly lower than I do in my current car, which I don't like. So we're going to work on that. The steering is still work in progress. I don't know if it's really the steering or if it's the tire and the stiffness of the sidewall and also the stiffness of the suspension parts and things. So that is an interesting kind of work in progress because I feel like that's gonna throw some guys off because you're not, moving the wheel as much and the car's very responsive to everything. So that's interesting. Very normal in the shifter. Feel really good about that. The drafting aspect of the car was okay. I think the speeds were a little bit lower than the current car, but some of the similar characteristics and pushing and things like that were still there. So that's kind of my general summary.
When you say the steering is responsive, is that good or is that bad? Like, what can you kind of explain that a little deeper?
It could be both. I think it's good in the fact that, it takes less effort. The car's quicker to respond. it's definitely going to be a good thing on short tracks. I think about Martinsville, how much easier it's going to be on the drivers, and then also just it's just going to be easier the car's going to turn better at a short track, I think. But when it comes to Daytona, it was very easy to go around the corner almost with no effort, and I don't know if that's exactly what you want. Typically at Daytona, you want to have some forgiveness, just if you get out of shape or something like that, and to be able to save it. So I think everyone's very interested to kind of see how it is when you do get out of shape, and whether or not you can correct it and keep going or what. So that's probably the question we all have, and it's probably going to take until somebody crashes and in a big pack to kind of see. So that's probably my biggest question. I think it's a good thing and something to still work on too.
Okay, our next question will come from Michelle Martinelli. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, William. I'm wondering how familiar you are with NFTs and how you might feel if NASCAR entities tried to break into the world of NFTs.
What's NFTs?
No, it's okay. Like the cryptocurrency, sort of the non-fungible tokens, like NBA
okay.
and other things like that. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not, but I'm sure I could become familiar with it, but yeah, I'm not, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, our next question will come from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. William, I'm curious what you learned from last year in terms of the playoffs. After the first race at Darlington, you had the great finish and you were above the cut line, not completely safe, but in a good position. I'm sure there was a lot of good feelings coming out of that, and then obviously not able to advance the first round. So now you look at this year, I think a lot of people outside looking in would be like, uh-oh, what's going to happen to him now, even with the success of the organization this season? How do you manage, and what did anything you learn from last year with the range of emotions, I guess, that these playoffs can have from one week to the next?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think, when I look at the playoffs for myself in general, it's all about eliminating the big numbers, and I think that unfortunately we had a big number this past weekend, and not really of our making, really not of our making at all. That even the tire issue was just a 1 in 1,000 chance that a lug nut or something hits the inside of the valve stem on the inside of the tire and cuts down the inner liner. So just a very freak kind of incident that we can't really control. And the guys did a good job bringing a fast car, number one, fixing the car to make it still fast, after the damage with the 48. And so I feel like for us just going into Richmond, I mean, we just have to have a smooth race, and we have the speed and we have the ability. We were top 3 or 4 in points all season long. A lot of the reason for that was because of our consistency and speed. And those two things are things that are going to get you through each round. So we just got to focus on, the next 2 races. We're only 9 points out, of the cut line. And I feel like if we just do our jobs, we're going to be plenty good. So it is a lot different than last year. I felt like last year, not that I lucked into that Darlington finish, but I didn't really run top 5 all day, and I got a good finish at the end. And we knew going to Richmond we weren't going to be very fast. And Bristol, we thought we were going to be okay, and unfortunately we got caught up with a lap car. So just a lot different situation than last year overall. Our team's a lot different, and I feel like our speed is very good, so we're very capable of advancing through the round.
I also want to ask you about the commitment line at Richmond. Certainly, we've seen some commitment line violations in the past. Maybe don't see that at as many tracks. And I know, what was it? I think on the last green flag stop at the end of the spring race, that was one where you missed the commit. You missed going into the pit road and had to go back around one more time. What is the challenge with getting on pit road at Richmond, and kind of what did you go through in that spring situation when you missed it and went by one more lap?
Yeah, it's tough. to get on pit road. I think that there's a lot of different techniques. It looks like some guys just kind of ultimately just turn down early and get to pit road extremely early, and you kind of run the risk if you stay up there on the track of not getting the car slowed down. And I knew I wasn't going to make it pretty early on because the car started wheel hopping and I couldn't get the gears to match up and decel. So yeah, I mean it's a risk you take. I think there'll be on our end. I think there's going to be a little bit more conservative approach to this race just to make sure we don't have any issues. And you still got to get all you can get, but do so and make sure you can get there. So I don't see it being a huge issue. We all kind of know what we're up against, and it is hard to see that box at night. So I think that's going to lead to some issues for some guys maybe.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next question will come from Kyle Dalton. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, William. So back to the next gen test. I know Chris Buescher talked about the rear view camera. Denny Hamlin just a few minutes ago said he didn't use it in his car, and you just talked about how you used it. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on what it was like and the feel you got from using the rear view camera.
Yeah, so I liked it. The way my seat position was and everything, I couldn't really see very, very well out of the real mirror, on the top. And I think that's just something, that we can definitely get ironed out and fixed. But yeah, that was, so I kind of used the rear view camera instead, the whole time, and felt like it was really good and accurate. Kind of, see the spoiler and it seemed like the refresh rate on the camera was pretty accurate. So I think that's going to be a tool. I'm not sure how many guys will use it right away, but I'm sure over time, if you've got access to electronics like that, it's better than the alternative of not. So I think over time, guys will adapt to it and use it.
Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. And Bob, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I was just curious how you felt in the draft at Daytona.
Yeah, so a lot of us compared it, like the runs were not as big as the current car. Maybe a little bit more like the Xfinity package where there's a little bit more gap there. But once you were close to somebody, you could still push and affect that car and go forward, and we could still run too wide. So I don't know if the energy was enough with 8 cars to really know what the draft is going to be like for sure. But it sounds like we're going to do another test in January at Daytona, and we'll definitely be pushing and shoving there if there's 20 plus cars and have a better idea of kind of what it's going to feel like.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. And one final question would be for Michael Shelton. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. Well, William, just briefly, if you could just talk about your crew chief, Rudy, and just how reuniting with him this season and entering the playoffs with him has made a difference for you and your team.
Oh, it's been great. I mean, Rudy's done a phenomenal job all year. I feel like, in anything, there's growing pains of a new team, new crew chief driver. Even though we worked together in the past, there's definitely new things in the Cup Series that you have to learn. But we've continued to believe in each other all year, in the very good times and the very bad. So I feel like for us, we just we continue to work together well and just are very open with each other. So I think that's all really good. And I think the biggest thing that he's done all year is bring really fast cars that are balanced well and set up well, and that's his job to do and our job to get right. So he's done a phenomenal job with all that stuff.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. William, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you the best of luck this weekend in Richmond.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.